Good morning. Welcome all to the final day of our UCLG retreat, finally. I'm glad to see all of the soldiers still standing today. Happy to see you all. Before we start, I'd like to give a brief overview of what we've done this week. This week has been, we've gone through everything that we're working on towards Tangier. We've started with a global task force meeting. We've started discussing our role towards multilateralism, the role of local democracy and trust, the role and what we are looking for in a new multilateralism. We've also given the first steps towards our World Congress in Tangier, inviting our colleagues from the city to give the state of affairs of how they're working and how everything is looking. And we even had time to welcome public workers and the struggle and the collaboration with our movement. Today, however, is all about ourselves. It's all about UCLG, where we stand as a movement, what we are working on towards our Congress, and also it's a moment to reflect on what we still need to do to increase our impact, not only externally, the alliances we need to build, the media that we need to work with, and the overall outreach that we're working on, but also internally, what we need to build towards Tangier and to renew our strategy once we reach our World Congress. So I'm going to be brief, and I'm going to give the floor to our Secretary General, Emilia Saiz, who is going to, in dialogue with Pedro Bravo, who's accompanying us to Tangier, give a brief overview of where we stand, where we are working towards, and what the world is going to look like in Tangier. Thank you, and over to Emilia.
Thank you very much, Jose, our head of outreach. Well, you have explained quite well, Jose, what we are trying to do with this session, which is looking a little bit more inwards, obviously with the partners that remain here, but looking at what our possibilities are, what tools we have, etc. So I will not go further in describing the session. I will share with you the challenge that a World Secretariat faces every time that we need to think of one of these summits, what it means for us. And I want to see in the dialogues that we're going to have later, I want to see whether you identify with that, how you are facing the summit itself. The Summit of Local and Regional Governments is for United Cities and local governments something that goes beyond our own boundaries. It's not only about our organization, it's actually about the movement as a whole, our aspiration and mandate to represent the movement, to guide the movement, and to make it thrive. And so it goes beyond UCLG, and that's why the effort that we make is to ensure that we are accompanied by the right people, the right partners that are having the key conversations that need to inform our political leadership. We try to be as inclusive as possible and make sure that the whole ecosystem of networks of local and regional governments are also included. That's the summit. And obviously we want to use the summit to show our muscle before the international community, showing them, okay, these are the leaders of today, these are the people that you need to be talking to. And when I talk about the international ecosystem, I'm obviously talking from OECD to ASEAN to the UN to the G20 to national governments. That's what we are trying to do. But the summit is also a space of deep internal impact for the organization, because also it's a very important statutory moment. It's a moment where we renew our leadership, and it is a very complex democratic process of decision making, and so a very important part of the energy of the World Secretariat is taken by that part of the job. Ensuring that the right papers are prepared, that the right policies are tabled, that the right processes are put in place to ensure democratic, inclusive participation and the broadest reach possible. And I guess this part of the retreat for us is about reflecting on what type of things that we need to take into account to ensure that the agenda that we have been discussing throughout these days is visible takes shapes and is consolidated in Tangier. And in order to do that, and I will finish, I will finish with this because I want to listen to you about this. In order to do that, we have come to several conclusions, and Pedro is helping us shape some of these things, so the consequences of those conclusions. Now, the first thing is, believe it or not, the era of big summits is a little bit over. So people like to come together, and they come together in numbers, but they want to come together to very actively participate and not only listen. So there are formats that we need to change, because we will have people coming in big numbers. We need people coming in big numbers, but we need to have spaces where people do more than listen. I see Secretary General nodding because all of us in our own places, we go through that. So the era of summits is kind of over. The summit is a concept, but the format of summit is changing. So we need to make sure that we have a summit where there is a very clear space of decision making. This is why we want to consolidate the space of the Assembly and of the World Council. Decision making, not plenaries. You see what I mean? And then we need to have more labs that allow us to exchange in a different way. So that's the era of summit is kind of over, and if it is not over, then we need to reinvent part of that. Now, the second thing is the agenda that we are putting forward is not a sectoral thematic agenda. And so the big advantage that we have seen throughout this week, and the feedback that I'm getting from you about how you have liked the dialogues that we have had here, and how we have been connecting the dots, to use the expression that we used yesterday, yeah, that is something that we need to do as well during the summit and the Congress. And that is easier said than done, because actually when you start to organize a Congress, everybody goes thematically. We need to talk about migration, we need to talk about transportation, we need to have something on this, on that. So one of the challenges that we're facing is, how do we make sure that the social covenant is actually reflected in the correct way? How do we integrate these things? So that is one of the questions that we're trying to answer, and I think the discussion yesterday was very useful to feed into the content of the social covenant. But I am not sure about what it means for our program in the Congress. So that's the second reflection. And the third reflection is, this is an extremely complex context internationally. Traveling means increasing difficulties for people. We have issues with visa. And so how do you make sure that the Congress and the summit have the impact and the inclusivity that it needs to have beyond the people that can actually make it? Just like this retreat. I mean, this retreat has been rather diverse, but all of you, almost all of you, have paid your way to the retreat, and well, so this is an exclusive club, because not everybody can do that. So how do you solve that as a movement? It's becoming increasingly problematic for us to deal with that, and this is why we thought about those 100 days of local multilateralism, where we say, actually, the summit is everything. The work is everything. Those different moments are also part of what we're doing with the Congress. But I still want a lot of people at the Congress, and our hosts want a lot of people at the Congress. So those are a little bit the things that we are struggling with, and we are thinking with all of you about how to overcome some of those issues from the different perspectives. We will be having a dialogue with some key members and the secretaries generals later on after our civic market. But I wanted to go now to you, Pedro, because when we called you in, following the collaboration that we have had with the Power of We, identifying what the strengths of the organizations were and how to portray the organization. We started already thinking about some of these issues, but I think we are now mature enough to give them shape and test some ideas. So from you this morning, I would like to hear what are the things that you feel we need to think about to overcome some of these barriers and others that you might have in mind. Pedro, go ahead.
It's difficult to have answers, but maybe we can ask questions. As both Jose and you have said, it's been an intense few days. The world is changing and the organization is changing, which is a good point. I mean, what we have seen these days is people think there are big problems and that we need fast solutions, good solutions, new solutions. That's very important. We have seen also, as I said yesterday, that organizations are thankful to UCLG, to the work of UCLG, and they ask more from UCLG, which is good, because they see UCLG can be a cooperator in their work. That has to do with what we are talking about, but and also another thing I wanted to say, I've talked with people that didn't know UCLG, but was here, Dario, for example, yesterday, and he was so impressed about the potential of the organization that he wanted to collaborate immediately, more to implicate, no? That's a power that the organization has, and that's the power that the organization has to move, no? Because as I said yesterday, I think to have impact, you need visibility, and with visibility, you are going to have more impact. So the questions that we have to think about is how we, the people that are here and the people that are related to the organization, can collaborate in visibility. As we also said yesterday, there is a lot of noise, communication, not only media communication on social network communication, every kind of communication is very difficult. Everybody's receiving a lot of impacts and noise, but still there is something that works, which is most to hear, no? The recommendation, the engagement with people who tells people, organizations to tell organizations that this organization is important, UCLG is important, the local social covenant is important, and that we can make local changes through local multilateralism. That way is something we can work together, maybe not today, but start to work together through the Congress. You were saying that the summit is going to be different, but I think the Congress starts today. The preparation of the Congress has been started before, but today we can start to think about outreach. And it's not because I don't want to work in this, but I think the work is for everybody, because the local sections, the local people knows the local possibilities of how to reach people, where to reach people, which people to reach, and the better way to do it. So I think we can talk today a little bit, but start a conversation and a strategy of participation, because communication starts with listening. There's no communication without attending. And UCLG has a section called We Listen, and we have to start listening the local sections and the partners and the organizations that work with the organization to make an outreach strategy that give us more visibility and then more impact. Because this is going to be important. If you are trying to change your local city, your local territory, you are going to do it better if you have the support of UCLG, of a global movement. There was a program when I was young in Spanish TV called La Bola de Cristal. You remember, and they say, solo no puedes, with amigos sí. You cannot do it alone, with friends you can. Let's see, we are not only friends, we are neighbors in a big city called the world, and we need everybody to push up, and also to push up in the strategy of the outreach. That's what I wanted to say to start the conversation.
Good, thank you, Pedro. Allow me to open the floor briefly to see whether there are inputs that you would like to share, and see this conversation as the introduction for the session that we will have later. So one of the ideas is indeed, we have all of these tracks that you all know. We have the statutory track, the local for action track, the assembly track. The idea is to make sure that those tracks have shape from now until the Congress, and that we continue collaborating with you and shaping the sessions in Tangier, following up a little bit the process that we have followed for the deliberations of the social covenant. And so we need to see how those tracks interact with each other, and how we can ensure that the inputs from those tracks are what are given shape to our assembly. To the assembly of UCLG, that I am proposing now, and I was saying that to the presidency, will not only be a merely a statutory assembly, it will be also a content assembly. So it's like actually the plenaries of the Congress. The big plenaries of the Congress are taking place at that moment. So it's really with the political leadership, and so we need to make sure that your inputs land there as well. That is one of the ideas that we have, and how to ensure that it starts now. How do we shape that is something that we will need to answer later. So are there any other comments or issues that you would like to raise? I would like to see a few hands before before we go further. Jordi, do you have a microphone there? No. Let me give you mine. No problem.
Thanks, Emilia. So I think there's something we have realized in Metropolis, which also has a global membership, is that there's different styles and ways of engaging, and that we need to generate spaces that offer opportunities to all styles. For example, formats that are very curated towards content discussions that can be political and adversarial will not work as well for all kinds of members, right? And formats which may feel a little bit like just people are just saying their thing and talking past each other are in fact very valuable, because the free flow of best practices and ideas is actually valuable in itself. So what I would advocate is a diversity of approaches. Yes. One that's curated and that leads somewhere and leads to a big political discussion, one that really allows for the expression of the partners and participants in the way they feel they want to present themselves. Yeah. And that, in the end, I think it's not a cacophony. It actually is all leading to this conversation.
Yeah, so richer. Actually different formats to achieve inputs to the same thing. We also have an issue with languages. I mean, and this I mean, in some parts of the world, this is more acute than in others. But we are limited by the working languages that we have. In our World Council in Xi'an, there were 11 languages working. Here, yes, and people found it not enough, because it was not enough. But a place like this only has 4 languages working. Yeah? So, yeah, that has limitations.
But Emilia, things don't die and end in the room.
No, correct.
Because one person can make a presentation in, I don't know, Indonesian or in Romanian, and that's recorded, and that then is used to disseminate in their own environments the ideas that were discussed. So I mean, the room is sometimes messy and difficult. That doesn't mean the dialogue isn't fruitful.
Agreed. But these are important points. So something to take into account. Different formats, as interactive as we can, but they might be different in different places and for different objectives as well. Any other hands? Any other thoughts around this? No comments. So Pedro, if we are looking at something interactive in terms of format, in order to be as inclusive as possible, how would you describe then? What would you challenge us to do as UCLG with a Congress that is going to have as output a process? In fact, so the social covenant is going to be a standing process from now on in UCLG, because it's a dialogue, a platform for dialogue. So that is an outcome in itself. And then we need to give to have a more traditional output, which is going to be an outcome document that we need to shape that gives way to the content that has been discussed in the covenant. What challenges do you see around this, and how would you explain it when you working on narrative? How would you explain what we are doing in UCLG?
There are more than one question in that question. The first question, my answer is, as he said, diversity is also in the objectives and not only in the formats. I mean, we can look for a traditional statutory message because people is used to that kind of thing, at the same time that we are looking for innovative, not only process, but objectives, commitments. Yesterday I was saying, but everybody was talking about, like, in the plurilateralism discussion also, to point in a few things and concentrate in a few things. We can do both things in the summit. We can have like the general talk about the global issues and the usual thing in the Congress, but working in innovative processes through innovation techniques and through the Congress also, not only in the Congress, to find what are the points that we have to concentrate to give tools to the territories to change the cities and the territories. That could be both things. And about how we explain, not the narrative, but something deeper, which is the position of UCLG. 5 years ago, the narrative was power of we. I think it's still the same. We together can make local changes. But what I feel these days is that we have to believe that this is a global movement that can make local changes possible. And we have to believe that, UCLG have to believe that, but we have to make people, organizations in local territories to believe that, to use UCLG to do so.
Thanks. I mean, yesterday, and Kathy, I'll go to you, and then we will start wrapping up so that we can go to the next segment. Yesterday, we identified already one actor that we actually didn't have in the room. That was the private sector. I mean, I don't know whether it is realistic at this point to ensure a drastic new involvement of private sector in the Congress, but I think it's worth taking into account that beyond those formats and doing these two types of participatory processes, we will also need to focus on different types of actors. So I think that is something that we will need to work on. I'm happy to give 2 more hands. Okay. How many do we have? Were there any else? So these 2 hands here, Kathy and then Lorena, and then we go to the next segment.
Thank
Kathy.
you. Yeah, following up on what has been said here and a little bit yesterday, I think we need to talk about power and the power of those who stop us from doing what we all have agreed are common agendas. And not to talk about it theoretically, but to get examples maybe from some mayors who had to deal with very difficult central governments, and how did they do it? Not that we can replicate what they did, but we need more psychology, we need more anthropology, we need more people who have left marketing because they hated that arena, but they know how to market ideas. That's my contribution.
Thank you, Kathy. Lorena.
Great, I fully agree with that. Thank you. Just in terms of actors, I think also we were chatting with some UCLG staff the other day, but I think considering philanthropies, some kind of engagement and dialogue, I'm not saying at the Congress or during the Congress, but somehow, is something that for us as civil society is very difficult to do. It's usually like bilateral dialogues, very difficult to have like roundtables and sit, you know, different actors at the table and thinking about a strategy together and medium and long-term planning together. I think that's crucial. And the other actor, of course, is media and you know, journalists. And in terms of the content, I'm not sure we're discussing also content and programming, but...
Go ahead, we're discussing everything.
Okay. I think we need, the session on the New Urban Agenda the other day was good, was a start, but I think we need much more than that. It's a very special year for that, as you know. And I think we have lost lots to say and discuss and debate and add to that, the context of the New Urban Agenda and what's changed, what else we're doing, which is a lot. So I will suggest to dedicate, you know, a segment there to have like meaningful discussions. This will be after the WOOF, so that we also had that, and will be prior to the meetings in New York in July. So I think it's important to dedicate a space for that. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Lorena. On this very last point, actually we were exploring some efforts to make that. We had a segment here on the New Urban Agenda, and we actually were exploring possibilities to go a little bit further on that. I mean, make it a much stronger part of this retreat. I was very surprised about how little interest there was in this. So, it's something that, I mean, I'm not saying that because there is no interest we have to stop doing it. Maybe because there is little interest we need to do it. But yeah, I think we need to put our heads together about how we want to do that. I mean, from UN Habitat, there has been very little interest in doing this. Because they are very busy, of course, I mean, overwhelmed with many things, and they are in charge of this report that they need to present, etc. But I mean, I think there's a challenge there. I really like the other proposals. If I understand you correctly, and I'll give you the floor in a moment if you want to clarify the issue of interest. Let me get this right. So what you are proposing on the philanthropies is to change a bit the conversation that we usually have when we are one-on-one, that always looks like we are going there for funding and we need to justify the agenda. So you actually want to involve them more in the dialogue. Yeah. Which is something that I am seeing in the feminist movement that is happening. In generation equality, I am very active in one of the action coalitions. I think they are managing to do that with some philanthropies. And I think it's a very interesting idea. Did you want to add anything on the New Urban Agenda?
Very, very quickly. I think we need to differentiate the New Urban Agenda as a document. The New Urban Agenda in terms of the Habitat 3 process and the discussions and the leading up to that and the huge range of documents and inputs that were into that agenda that actually didn't make it to the agenda, as we all know. But also, I think it's a third component into that, which is something we all realize, we all participated in that process, a huge disconnect between national governments, infrastructure ministers, housing and urban development ministers, and so on, and people aware of cities issues and urban agendas at the national level, and then the diplomats discussing those things in New York. A huge disconnect. And what's even difficult to have debates because they weren't aware of some words, or they pretend they weren't aware of some words and the language we used when we talk about municipal issues, urban politics, urban issues, urban planning, and so on. So I think it's kind of a pedagogical gap there that we notice, and I really want to address that. If we actually made some progress into that, if we now can have conversations with those people and others deciding those agendas that are different from 10 years ago. So being a local government doesn't mean that you understand the urban agenda at the local level, right?
That's correct.
So and the same with the national, politics and the diplomats. So that's the point. I think we need to discuss more about that in that framing, not the document per se.
Okay, point taken. So let us see how we deal with that. Pedro, any comment before we close this?
No, as we can see, if you start to ask people answers, I think some things are very important. The examples that she said, I mean, as we saw in the document that John presented, examples are good to know that some things can be changed, but also examples of how you treat with different actors, and examples of good governance, for example. Testimonies, voices, also a bit of emotions. We have seen these days a couple of moments that we are going to remember in months, and it was emotional. Emotions is how we react to things and we attend to things. Emotions in a good way with science, no? And different voices, more voices, like not only inside voices of the cities and the local governments and the organizations, but remember that the cities are everybody, and that yesterday was said, we want to do things, innovation with the people, so maybe people should be also there.
Well, thank you very much. I think this is helpful, and I hope it will continue to be helpful for the rest of the conversation this morning. One thought I want to leave in the room, because it's something that we will need to deal with. I mean, it's just at the end, it comes down to money as well. When I was saying about the format, and the format was one that coming to an end, is, I mean, obviously there is a huge effort by a host to organize this, a huge investment. And then there is the principle that we follow, that we ask members to contribute to that effort as well. I mean, you need to register, you need to pay a registration fee to come to our Congress. That's also a limitation in a world where the plurilateral system is giving tickets away to make sure that more and more people comes to the things. So, I mean, I'm asking this also to the Secretaries Generals and to my colleagues that need to face that, and we need to find solutions as well for our partners, and we will try to do that. But the challenge of making this process different and inclusive is big, because we are operating within formats that are a little bit obsolete. So I guess this is the way we start. I mean, with this dialogue, we start thinking about how we could reshape that. I'm really grateful for your inputs. Jose, we are back to you to introduce the next segment. Thank you very much, Pedro. Always a pleasure.
So thank you. It's always hard to follow up with these kinds of conversations, because they're always really deep and force us to engage with ourselves. But we're going from the bigger picture to the concrete actions. We're going through a tried and true experience that we've had in previous retreats. We've always had a marketplace to sell initiatives and sell ideas. This time, as we are transforming our narrative towards Tangier, we're trying to give a less, and forgive me, Emilia, for using the word, a less capitalistic name to our marketplace, and bringing the voices of actors and the voices of the people that are sharing the initiatives into the floor. So I would like to give the floor now to my colleagues, Fernando Santomauro and Paloma Labe, who will introduce the dynamic of the marketplace. And again, colleagues, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jose. How are you today? Good morning. Last day, right? Put your headphones, because I will speak in Spanish, please. Bueno, voy a hablar en español porque me ha venido una idea muy parecida con el portugués, entonces es más fácil explicar la idea. Toda esta semana, lo que hemos discutido, ¿no? Esta cosa de la esperanza, y de las acciones de las políticas locales y todo, me recordó, como vengo de Brasil, un académico brasileño, que es un poco antiguo, pero más actual que nunca, que es en verdad el académico más citado hasta hoy, el académico de Brasil más citado hasta hoy, que es Paulo Freire, ¿no? Que es una de las cabezas ahí de lo que se llama pedagogía del oprimido, ¿no? Que ustedes deben conocer, ¿no? Que además inspiró muchísimas de las políticas del presupuesto participativo, por ejemplo, ¿no? De participación popular. Él mismo, además de académico, él era un municipalista como nosotros, ¿no? Y no sé si es coincidencia de pensar eso, ¿no? De la opresión y de cómo los actores que son oprimidos pueden como participar y mejorar las políticas, ¿no? Él mismo después fue secretario de Educación de la ciudad de São Paulo, ¿no? Participó de los primeros congresos de la red Ciudades Educadoras, por ejemplo, ¿no? ¿Y por qué me recordó Paulo Freire? Porque él ha hecho una transformación muy interesante, ha propuesto una transformación muy interesante de esperanza substantivo para esperanza verbo, el verbo esperanzar, que significa poner en práctica la esperanza, ¿no? Concretar. Y eso tiene todo sentido con lo que hacen las ciudades, ¿no? Y tiene todo sentido lo que vamos a proponer ahora, en esta parte, que antes llamábamos de mercado. Hemos hablado un poco de participación de mercado ahora, pero ahora proponemos un cambio también, llamar de plaza cívica, ¿no? Donde nosotros acá, ¿qué hacemos? ¿Qué implementamos o localizamos la esperanza? Vamos a poder no solo conocer el esperanzar de cada uno de nosotros acá, pero también después, como participantes, podemos interactuar. O sea, nosotros también pasamos de un papel pasivo para un papel activo acá, presentando nuestras experiencias, pero también interactuando entre nosotros. Entonces, me gustaría invitar a ustedes todos a esperanzar en este momento, ¿no? Como presentadores o como participantes intercambiando, y que podamos, a partir de aquí, a partir de esta semilla, continuar juntos implementando la esperanza a partir de nuestras acciones locales. Hablando en esperanza, yo tengo acá mi amiga, mi gran compañera Paloma, que es una esperanza del movimiento municipalista internacionalista por sus habilidades, por su comprometimiento y por su visión política, ¿no? Entonces, Paloma, te invito ahora para explicar un poco la dinámica de la Plaza Cívica y después pasamos a los expositores. Muchas gracias.
Yo creo que esto merece un aplauso, la verdad. Muchas gracias. Merci beaucoup Fernando pour cette introduction et ces paroles inspirantes. Moi, je vais présenter donc la méthodologie de marché civique, cette place civique que nous allons monter pendant 1 heure. Donc, l'idée, ça sera de nous réunir autour de 3 stands. Nous allons avoir 6 initiatives en tout pendant la matinée. Et pour cette session, tout le monde sera invité à se lever, bouger un peu, se dégourdir les jambes et de s'approcher de chacune des 3 tables pour écouter tout d'abord une présentation de la part de chacun des exposants et ensuite échanger avec elles et eux pour connaître davantage, peut-être vous inspirer, apprendre d'eux ou créer de nouvelles opportunités de collaboration. Donc, nous allons avoir en tout 2 séquences de 20 minutes pour que les 6 initiatives puissent passer, puisque nous avons 3 tables. Et pendant les présentations, en fait, toutes les 7-8 minutes, nous allons entendre une petite musique qui va nous indiquer qu'il est l'heure de changer de table. Voilà ce que vous allez écouter. Donc, pour plonger et un peu avoir une première idée de ce que nous allons pouvoir écouter, Fernando et moi allons tendre le micro à chacune des personnes représentantes des 6 initiatives pour un petit avant-goût avant de pleinement nous plonger dans ce marché civique. Merci à tous et à toutes. Fernando, je te donne la parole.
Merci, Paloma. Je pense qu'on commencera avec Nicolas, qui va présenter pour 1 minute l'expérience que vous avez présentée.
Yes, well, as everybody knows, I also run the Guangzhou Award for Urban Innovation. And one of the things that really excited me very much during the last cycle was the number of submissions that we received that are living demonstrations of how digital tools in artificial intelligence can really help provide basic services to those most in need. And so I'm very excited to be able to share with those who are interested some of the lessons that we can learn from these, because all of these initiatives are replicable. They can go to scale.
Thank you very much, Nicolas.
Pour la suite, nous avons ici con nosotros Marta Galcerán del CIDOB. Por favor.
Hello, thank you very much. I'm leading the research on global cities at CIDOB. CIDOB is an international relations think tank, one of the leading international relations think tank in Europe. And we offer 3 things. 3 things connected with knowledge. Knowledge to navigate the current geopolitical context. Knowledge to navigate also the complexities of the current city diplomacy landscape, which is also very difficult sometimes to navigate with so many interesting initiatives happening at the same time. And finally, knowledge also to navigate this interplay between the international and the local when in terms of the, delivering specific policies. For instance, we have a global observatory on urban artificial intelligence where we try to provide specific ideas on how artificial intelligence projects can be implemented at the local level. If you come and visit me, I came here with lots of printed publications like that one, like the last monograph that we just released, City Diplomacy in a Fragmented World, Geopolitical Tensions, the Crisis of Multilateralism and the Rising Global South. I can provide some of those publications to the one that come visit me, and I hope that we have the time to exchange. Thank you.
Muchas gracias. Te toca.
Merci pour finir la première ronde. Allô? Si. Alice, vous avez la parole.
Thank you very much, and hello everyone. I am the manager today of the Observatory of Violence Against Women in Seine-Saint-Denis. This observatory was created 20 years ago. Let me refresh your memory. 20 years ago, that was 10 years before Me Too. So there was a vision in Seine-Saint-Denis. We are very, very highly concerned territory on women and girls being submitted to violence, all forms of violence. We decided that would not do, and the département implemented an observatory on these violences, because if you don't have data, you can't convince anyone. You can't convince politicians, you can't convince journalists, and you can't convince people. So the key word is data. But then how do you get data on a territory? You have to form alliances. You have to have partners. You have to make people trust that the data they give you will be used correctly, fairly, and will not just create a very nice picture that does not serve any purpose. So data is the second keyword, and the third word is political change. Because the observatory inspired 30 other observatories in France now. But why did it do so? Because it didn't just observe, because it proposed, because it wanted change. Now, what kind of change are we talking about? We're talking about maybe 3 examples I can give you. We observe that one very risky situation for women is when fathers come visit their children after a separation. But everybody knows fathers have rights. Yes, but there's a best interest of the child as well. So how do you make it so that the visit will be safe for the woman, because it is a highly risky situation for her, and also for the child? You see, there is a question of right, a question of psychology, a question of psychological integrity, and How do you do that? It's a very practical question. That's one of the first key things that we deduced from having produced data on feminicides in Seine-Saint-Denis. Another example I will give you, youth against sexism. We have a huge problem with sexism and renewed sexism in young generations today. How are we going to fight that? Adults have all sorts of ideas. Generally, they're quite wrong about what will work or not in teenagers' rooms. So we need teenagers with us. That is a dispositif called Youth Against Sexism, which we created because we thought flyers, campaigns, messages, podcasts should be created by artists and teenagers together. I hope to have convinced you that we have a lot to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Alice. And now start the second round, the expositors of the second round.
Para la segunda ronda comenzaremos con Jolie Guzmán de Paradiplomacia. Tienes un minuto.
Muchas gracias. Voy a empezar con una pregunta y es ¿cuántos casos de cooperación entre ciudades conocen exitosos o más o menos exitosos a nivel internacional? Si tuviéramos que nombrar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 en los próximos 10 segundos, ¿cuántos podrían mencionar? Bien, pues mi nombre es Jolie Guzmán y tengo el gusto, el honor, el placer de coliderar junto a Nico Mancini para diplomacia.org, una ONG que trabaja día a día por aumentar el número de casos de cooperación internacional descentralizada, sobre todo en ciudades de América Latina, pero en algunas otras también. ¿Cómo lo hacemos? Trabajando básicamente con 3 sectores. El primero, la academia. El segundo, los gobiernos locales, claramente. Y el tercero, el ecosistema paradiplomático, es decir, como las redes de ciudades como CGLU en este caso, con quien adelantamos un trabajo bastante fuerte. Hoy estamos buscando aliados que como nosotros quieran repensar la cooperación descentralizada, aliados que como nosotros quieran acompañar a los gobiernos locales a que este movimiento sea cada vez más fuerte y aliados que como nosotros quieran también unirse a la profesionalización de la acción exterior desde los gobiernos locales. No solamente porque estamos convencidos de que el cambio inicia en lo local y creo que no debo convencerlos de eso, sino también porque estamos convencidos y la experiencia así nos lo demuestra de que los gobiernos locales tienen el poder de cambiar la gobernanza local. Entonces, si quieren de pronto ser uno de estos aliados, de estos nuevos aliados, los espero en nuestro stand. Tengo, no como Marta, publicaciones, pero chocolates y otras cosas.
Muchas gracias, Jolie. Seguimos.
Muchísimas gracias. Ahora con Susana, de la Diputación de Barcelona.
Buenos días. Desde la estrategia, desde el Servicio Estrategia 2030 de Diputación de Barcelona, hoy os presentaremos un producto muy concreto, el Visor 2030. Es un proyecto de monitorización de los ODS mediante una plataforma de código abierto. Se ofrecen indicadores de la realidad económica, social y medioambiental de los diferentes municipios de la provincia de Barcelona. Tiene 3 características básicas. Es de código abierto, es un código que está disponible para las instituciones interesadas. Tiene una estructura flexible, modular, que permite ir creciendo con el tiempo y tiene una presentación muy visual, muy intuitiva, que lo que hace es no solo presentarnos datos, sino historias, relatos, para poder entender cualquier persona la realidad de un territorio en términos de Agenda 2030 y de ODS. Nosotros no repartiremos chocolates, pero sí que tenemos documentación impresa en español y en inglés, y aunque la presentación será en castellano, las respuestas de vuestras preguntas podrán ser en castellano, en español o en inglés. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Susana.
Y para cerrar, con broche de oro, tenemos a Juan Felipe Ochoa de la ciudad de Cuenca.
Muchas gracias. Mi nombre es Felipe Ochoa Mogrovejo. Soy el director de Relaciones Internacionales y Cooperación de la Alcaldía de Cuenca, Ecuador, con su alcalde Cristian Zamora, también presidente de FLAGMA, de la Federación Latinoamericana, sección latinoamericana de CGLU. Y la presentación que vamos a hacer nosotros es sobre una iniciativa que la estamos construyendo en conjunto con la Alcaldía de Chefchaouen, que es la presidencia del Foro Mundial de Ciudades Intermedias. El tercero se realizó en la ciudad de Cuenca hace un año y un poco más de días. Y presentamos una iniciativa que es mantener justamente que el foro no sea nada más un evento cada 3 años, sino podamos concretar que esas ciudades intermedias, que estamos resolviendo problemas que quizás las ciudades más grandes ya no pueden resolver tan rápido, y las ciudades intermedias sí lo logramos hacer o lo podemos hacer, pues hacerlo a nivel de un laboratorio de buenas prácticas y encontrar ciudades intermedias de todas las secciones, no solo de CGLU, sino de todo el mundo en realidad, porque seguramente sabremos que una ciudad intermedia en América Latina no es lo mismo que una ciudad intermedia en Asia, que no es lo mismo que una ciudad intermedia en Europa. Tenemos problemas distintos, pero lo interesante es encontrar metodologías que puedan ayudarnos a construir mejores soluciones para nuestra gente. No quiero competir con la colega de Paradiplomacia, pero nosotros también tenemos chocolates en el stand.
Entonces, so for that one that are interested in some specific case, I will say a little bit where would be the spaces of each case. So here we will have Nicholas in the first round and Jolie in the second round. Here we're gonna have Marta first round and Carolina y Susana second round.
Soline, Alice y Delphine pour la première séquence y Juan Felipe para la segunda. Estarás por aquí.
Entonces, bienvenidos, traigan sus materiales.
Venez, installez-vous. Sí, sí. Et puis, on va demander à toute la salle de se lever et à venir découvrir les stands. Bienvenue à la place Civic.
Ocupemos.
То есть с улицы вышли, стоит, курит. Я таким байки отвечает, они нет. Я сегодня уезжаю. Закрыли, да, вот ковер, да? Не сегодня, в Мадрид. Я хочу 2 дня в Мадрид. Это туристический город, да? А вы сами в Казани проходите?
Now we can rotate. Podemos rotar, podemos on peut tourner de table. Podemos rotar de mesa, no sé. Y go to the other table. Now we can just see the other experiences here. No, not round two. Just see other experiences. Walk around. If you want. See the square.
Амина Мухаммед, да?
Прием.
Blue? Now we can turn again. First round, first round. Last sub-round of the first round. You can go to other experience. Ahora estamos en la última subronda de la... Bueno, no, hemos empezado tarde, pero... Sí, ¿no? Vale. Entonces, ¿cuánto tiempo tenemos? ¿20? Sí, o sea, hagamos una segunda ronda un pelín más fácil. Entonces, hacemos la segunda ronda de rondas. Sí, entonces cambió. Sí. Sí, aquí la jeep. Sí. Vale. Exacto. Sí, sí. So, hello. Thanks everyone. So we are going to the second round now. Going to the second round. Please, expositors, panelists. So, para diplomacia here. Everyone who wants to know more about para diplomacia, there. Barcelona Provincial Council here. And intermediary city is Cuenca here. Welcome. Who wanna know more? Lolo. Sí, ahora. So please come. Come everyone. There's chocolate. We have chocolate. Free chocolate. Chocolate for free. Y ahí ya estamos. Más una. Now we can turn again. Can go to the other experience. This is the last round of the second round. It's now or never. Ahí te paso.
Estaba previsto que hablaba un hombre, tenía alguien que
Crear bacterias.
La web está disponible en practicar en catalán. A los que tienen como mucha cercanía y están en todos los municipios. Esto era un sistema que se llama Divar. Esto es lo de la percepción ciudadana, exacto. Porque aparte de lo que son los indicadores propios a la que se les pasa, se han incorporado otras capas
Es que ya...
Pero si vas a decirlo, decirlo en micrófono.
Porque en total, yo no sé cuántos indicadores habrá todos los ODS, pero o sea, a nivel nacional, deben haber 200. En importancia para que se el tema es que muchos indicadores
Podemos sacar la cosa.
Pero usted
Colleagues, we're wrapping up. Cuando me digas. Colleagues, as we wrap up the Civic Marketplace, I would like to thank you all of the participants for intervening, and I would like to ask the people who are presenting to go back to their seats. Colegas, queremos cerrar la dinámica de la Plaza Cívica. Por favor, vuelvan a sus asientos cuando puedan.
para que no quede tan
Antes de pasar al último segmento de la sesión, voy a pasar al castellano por última vez. Colegas, por favor vayan tomando asiento, porque para cerrar este segmento y antes de pasar al final de la sesión, quería invitar a Jorge Rodríguez, director de la Secretaría Técnica de Mercociudades, a presentar la iniciativa de cuidados de Mercociudades. Jorge, cuando esté listo, vamos. Le comparto el micro.
Hola. Bueno, buenos días a todas y todos. Después de una larga semana estamos culminando este retiro. Agradezco la oportunidad que da CGLU a presentar lo que trabajamos en la región, lo que tratamos de generar estas iniciativas se transformen en acciones territoriales. Cuando en CGLU construimos herramientas, documentos, visiones, aportamos desde el conocimiento, desde el leal saber de los actores del territorio, y después esas ideas, esas líneas que acordamos, el gran desafío es llevarlas al territorio, es llevarlas justamente a que nuestros gobiernos locales desarrollen esas políticas públicas a los efectos de que nuestros ciudadanos y ciudadanas tengan mejor calidad de vida, que tengan una oportunidad de desarrollo. Desde esa perspectiva, Mercociudades ha diseñado una campaña sobre cuidados. Entendemos, esta semana estuvimos hablando mucho de confianza, ¿sí? Cómo generar esa confianza, cómo generar que la confianza se transforme en acción, cómo esa confianza nos da la legitimidad para plantear una acción y que los gobiernos locales la lleven adelante. Yo creo que cuando hablamos de confianza, cuando hablamos de proponerles a nuestros gobiernos locales llevar esa acción a política pública, la confianza es fundamental, ¿sí? entendemos que es algo intrínseco a una relación. Entendemos que se construye a través de la transparencia, del compromiso, del cumplimiento, desde honrar los acuerdos de la palabra empeñada. Y Mercosur genera eso, genera esa confianza, cumple los compromisos, trabaja sistemáticamente, registra y rinde cuentas, ¿sí? Yo tendría mucho más para contarles, pero quiero enfocarme en la campaña de los cuidados, la sensibilización, y les vamos a compartir también al final un video. Entendemos que los cuidados son todas aquellas actividades que son indispensables para las personas, puedan alimentarse, educarse, estar sanas y vivir en un hábitat propicio para el desarrollo de sus vidas. Desde esa perspectiva, yo creo que Mercosur ha construido o ha contribuido al Pacto para el Futuro o a todos aquellos acuerdos que hemos refrendado en CGLU para este tipo de cosas. Esta se transformó en la región en un compromiso de las ciudades por los cuidados. Estos compromisos tenemos 5 líneas o 5 compromisos que llevar adelante. Desarrollar un sistema de información que provenga de los territorios. Hemos visto acá en varias de las presentaciones en la plaza cívica que estamos hablando de datos confiables, de datos certeros para efectivamente llevar adelante una política pública. Garantizar la calidad de oferta de cuidados y el ejercicio de los derechos de la población. Esto es algo para los gobiernos locales necesario para avanzar efectivamente en los cuidados. Incorporar en la agenda de formación y de certificación a las personas cuidadoras. Estamos trabajando con las universidades de la región, ofreciendo diplomados que garanticen y que certifiquen justamente estas habilidades, porque también entendemos que es una oportunidad de desarrollo no solo personal, sino económico. Promover la incorporación de los hombres al cuidado. Esto es uno de los compromisos a veces más difíciles de promover, inclusive de medir, ¿sí? Por lo tanto, esto de tener un sistema de indicadores es algo absolutamente imprescindible. Y aumentar, obviamente, la destinación presupuestaria en este ámbito para seguir abogando por mayor financiación, no solo desde el nivel local, nacional e internacional. Hemos desarrollado varias herramientas, una campaña de sensibilización y visibilidad sobre los cuidados, ¿sí? Conjuntamente una campaña de adhesión de las ciudades al compromiso. Hoy tenemos ciudades de varios países de la región, Argentina, Brasil, Chile, Ecuador, Paraguay, Perú, Uruguay, son ciudades que están adheridas a este compromiso. Creamos herramientas, como les decía, para medir y visualizar los avances, compartimos los conocimientos, contamos con un espacio de sugerencias de las ciudades. Esto no se trata de efectivamente decir vamos por acá, sino construirlo en forma conjunta, como así fue el compromiso, sistematizar y registrar. Para finalizar les quiero mostrar un video que efectivamente lo que hace es poner en valor estas cosas que estamos desarrollando en la región. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Jorge. Muchísimas gracias también a los colegas que han participado en la exposición del Marketplace, que nos ha dinamizado muchísimo la mañana, que era una cosa que teníamos por ver cómo salía. Y me toca la difícil tarea de pedir a los secretarios generales de las secciones, a Bernadia Irawati, a Sergio Arredondo, a Jordi Baqué, a Rasik Sakitov, a Evgenia Lotvigova y a la secretaria general de CGLU, Emilia Saiz, que suban al escenario para la última parte de la sesión, donde vamos a reflexionar sobre los aprendizajes de esta mañana y ver precisamente lo que hablábamos, cómo el movimiento municipalista se encara de cara al Congreso Mundial y hacia dónde vamos. Gracias.
Thank you very much, Jose. Greetings again, everyone. Well, the discussion that we're going to have now was introduced this morning. Between that introduction this morning and now, you have seen the many things that we are trying to do in the network, in that civic market that we have put together. An agora, in fact, that allows us to show the instruments. We've also been able to hear how part of the networks are working around care, with the presentation from our colleagues in Mercociudades. We have a wealth, very, very many initiatives, many practices, but also a shared understanding of how we would like our local and regional governments to work, but also how we would like them to be considered by the international community, and how we would like to see local policies and public services being invested in. And I guess that's what Tangier is about. Tangier, as I was saying in the morning, is the moment to show our muscle to the world, to come together, to be among ourselves, and to realize we are doing this and we are not alone. But it is also a place for development of policy, for decision making about policy that will guide the work for the future. And this morning we were identifying some of the challenges that we were facing. But now I want to focus with you, with the colleagues that have joined us around the table, about some of the opportunities that we have as well, and some of the things that we need to think about. So we will be going from actually monitoring our impact to a specific initiatives that we are undertaking to involve, to enhance the people that we are able to reach, to regional or continental priorities that we are working on. I want my colleagues, the Secretary General and the Vice Mayor, thank you, Evgenia, for joining this table. I want you to use this roundtable as a bit of a reflection, following all the days that you have been patiently listening to what we were discussing together, and feeding it back to your own work. So, Bernardia, would you like to start with some reflections? And then what I would suggest is to go to Jordi, and then we'll see how the conversation flows. Bernardia.
Thank you, Emilia. I think it's a bit unfair if I started first, because I only joined yesterday afternoon. So I'm sure
I hadn't thought about that, Bernardia.
All those
Do you
gaps.
want to change the order? Do you want me to go to someone else?
I just say what I think is
everything is
necessary.
possible here. If you want, I can change that immediately.
No, it's okay. Yeah, first I think, of course, outreach is very important. The most important one is that actually what kind of messages that we want to bring to the world. The language should be clear, and also we avoid jargons, a lot of UN jargons that we need to avoid. so that at least not only local governments aware, because the idea here is to make the communities also aware what we are aiming for. And the second message, and the second important part is that who are our targeted groups? Of course, as Association of Local Governments, we put the importance of subnational governments, but in this outreach, we are also thinking of different stakeholders, including community, private companies, that we also try to reach them through different mechanisms in our region. For example, through a pitching session, also connecting private companies with investment plan of the local governments. So these kind of things are definitely important. The third aspect is, I think we have to talk of modalities. How we want to have the outreach, what kind of modalities, what kind of mode of communication that we have to inform those targeted groups. And it's good that we have now a very good technology that we can share. But this is not sufficient, because what's important is that how this message can reach people on the streets with things that are clear for them. And I think in terms of advocacy, UCLG is quite successful in doing this advocacy. At least all issues related to local governments, we always refer to UCLG, and UCLG has also been used for the references of the research of the works. I think that's quite important. And for us, when we do advocacy, I know that there is a global task force, for example. We also have what we call it APLG, Asia Pacific Local Governments Coordinating Body, that I said yesterday, that this is cross the geographical distribution of UCLG Asia Pacific. And we engage Euro-Asia, also MEWA, also CLGF, also C40 in this region. So we're quite successful in doing so. Another thing also, we try to bring what possibles for all, meaning that we use all these sub-regional cooperations, like ASEAN, also Urban Mekong and other things. But if we really want to design, the message should be clear, and what actually happened after 2030, we also don't know. I think these organizations should be able to shape, actually. We have 4 years from now on until 2030. There should be, we can use this time, the years, to actually accumulate kind of perspectives for local governments, how we can change 2030, post-2030 agenda, meaning bring voices of local government, because it's very clear local governments is in strategic positions, close to local community, and also we can influence national governments through several ways, including strengthening of the local government association. So I stop now, but most important is that we have to have a clear message what we want to bring at the Tangiers and after Tangiers.
Thank you very much, Bernardia. Many important things in what you have put forward on the clarity of the message and avoiding jargons. This is something that indeed we have been working on and now for a while, and sometimes I have a little bit of difficulty to see how much we can simplify messages and how much we need to accept complexity. But it is a strong point that also came up on Monday. So there is an agreement among us that we need to work harder on that and see how it is maybe not about simplifying the message, but it's about being very targeted and avoiding too many messages. Maybe this is where we need to be going. And point taken on the jargons and the modalities. I find it very interesting to think within when we were thinking of the 100 days of local multilateralism, we were thinking actually of connecting all the different international policy-making processes, connecting them among themselves. Now, this morning, what is emerging is opportunities to actually bring our people together also before the Congress, to start contributing to the Congress, so that the Congress is not only Tangier, so that there is more in between. So I call upon us to see how we could do that. It might be online town halls, like you were saying, making sure that we prepare a certain number of delegates that are going to be with us in Tangier so that they actually know what they are going to be going through. Because we have had in the past some challenges about people landing in a very complex, a very diverse summit. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, which we will be shaping later, and obviously we will come back to you and see what other reactions we have from the room. So as promised, I would propose to go to Jordi, the Secretary General of Metropolis. Jordi, we have discussed how we need to work on showing our impact. We have discussed on how our type of multilateralism or plurilateral initiatives need to be accountable. And I think you want to address some of that based on experiences that you have gone through in Metropolis. So welcome.
Thank you. Yes, indeed. But let me start with Tangier's and the title for the session, which is a strategy for an inclusive movement, right? And you were just saying we need to nudge and prime those who come to Tangier so that they're ready for a very complex multilateral event. Yes, but it also behooves us to make that space easier, that space adapted to the different levels of familiarity and the different levels of depth in the understanding of this multilateral context, or now plurilateral. And, you know, again, we need people who come without any previous experience to have a meaningful contribution, make a meaningful contribution, and an enjoyable experience, as well as to make sure that we continue and advance the debates that have been with us for years. That is very difficult. And that is our challenge, which is to make sure that that the value of anyone who makes all the effort that it requires to go all the way from China, Uruguay, or wherever it is, to Rabat, the expenditure, the carbon footprint, everything else, is really worth it, with an experience that is really meaningful for everyone, and where everyone feels it's part of it and is not just a spectator of a very sophisticated long-term process. And part of the response, as you were saying, Emilia, is Tangier isn't everything. There's 100 days of multilateralism, but part of the response is Tangier has to be more accessible than ever, easier for everyone to engage in and contribute than ever. Often, for example, for cities to be able to participate in one of those events, they need to be able to very clearly tell back to their administration, we went there and we told about our fabulous project on schools. Will there be this space for them to do this? So it also behooves us to create these these very different on-ramps into the place where we want all the participants to be. And then we have to hold ourselves accountable for it and say, did we do a good job? Did we do it in ways that were not just producive of the outcomes we wanted, but also of the experiences we wanted of people who did attend and participate? And in this, we at Metropolis have been very preoccupied with the need to hold ourselves accountable and open conversations about how are we doing with the members. And this is because we cannot take it for granted that members will continue to be part of the movement and engage in the movement where we try to be autonomous and charge for fees, which is not what happens in the rest of the field often, right? In a place where, on top of that, we ask people to make a commitment, to contribute, to come all the way, and we don't sell ourselves as service providers, which, let's face it, other spaces do. You come here, we provide you services, and that's not what we say. I mean, we do we do things that are useful, hopefully, to our members, but we're not just here to come here and we'll solve your problems. That's not our identity. That's not who we're trying to be. And that is difficult, right? It's difficult then to explain that the investment of money and time that you're doing is actually worth it. So at Metropolis, I think like everyone else, we're working very much on how do you do this? How do you report back to your members in ways that they can understand, but also they can criticize. They can say, actually, we don't think this is the right priority, or we don't think you're doing enough, or we don't think you're investing your resources wisely. And the difficulty is obviously that it's very difficult to trace our impact in actual governance in the cities. Not because there isn't an impact, but because we would never attribute to ourselves those impacts, right? Our logic is that of contribution, not that of attribution. If a city decides to, following Mercosur's appeal, for example, Mercociudades' appeal, say, look, we're gonna go and create a care system, this will be the merit of the leadership of that city, not the merit of Mercociudades, and the same for all of us. So it's difficult, it's logic of contribution, not attribution, to go back to the cities and say, are we doing well, when we cannot just go and just claim these successes. We have come to the conclusion that the best way to do this is to engage cities on a very honest, open conversation about what we put into all this work, why we do this, what we get in terms of feedback, and measure what's measurable, but most important, observe what's observable, because we live in a world that's fascinated with measurement, but measurement is not often available in the kind of work we do. And we hope that our members will find this a useful exercise to do. I don't want to go into more detail, just to say, in the world we inhabit, where there's many city initiatives, where many multilateral players, philanthropic players, and other players claim to have representative spaces of cities, we are the ones that ask a high political contribution and a high effort. And that means we're the ones that have to be even more transparent, even more ready to constantly explain why we are doing all these efforts without giving back in the form of a traditional sort of service provider. I think when we do this well, the political leadership understands the logic and follows us. But when we just follow our internal logic, no, we need to go for the next covenant, the next project, the next pact, and the other things, and don't remember to go back every single time and explain the whole story, then we may be missing some of them on their way. So here is a pledge, but also a plea that we as a movement remember to go back all the time in this reporting exercise, in this engaging exercise with our membership.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Jordi. One of the things that we indeed struggle with is the measurement of the impact, like you were saying, but also how to ensure as much proximity as possible with membership in an organization where the membership is so large and our teams are so small. It is not possible for us. We are really struggling, in fact, to answer the amount of requests that come our way with the type of teams that we have, and the amount of private time that each of our members necessitates to understand processes. When you have a council that is 342 seats, if I were to take 10 minutes with each of the representatives of the members of that council before we get together, I would spend a lot of time doing this. I would not be able to do practically anything else. And then this is a reality that we need to face, because we are not a small club. We have hundreds of thousands of members altogether, and thousands which are actually very active. And so as part of that, I think we need to find alternatives of measuring success, like you were saying. I think your experience is very good. And I also think that a way to measure the kind of success that you have is also to see how many people ask you to keep inviting them to certain things. And that's a very good way to take a pulse. But for instance, in the case of the SDGs and localization, our experience with the voluntary local reviews, the voluntary subnational reviews, the whole buzz around localization is something that I don't think we are capitalizing on enough. I mean, we are capitalizing on it from an advocacy perspective, but not so much as measuring impact as an organization. So that is also part of what we need to think about. What are those variables that you were talking about? And I really like the notion of taking care of people that are planning to come to the Congress so that they know what they are going to be facing. Now, the people that are here, that we can kind of do, but we have never actually done more broad town halls where you actually introduce people to, okay, this is going to be your kind of role. So for instance, at the regional level, the nominations to the council, to the political leadership that are going to be part of the World Council in UCLG, there could be a specific sessions with them before they reach Tangier that we could put in motion, and we could do that with some of our partners beyond the town hall. So I think with the limited resources that we have, and with the trouble that we have already making sure that we comply with the existing work program, I do think that this is worth exploring, because it can save us time later in Tangier, and it can actually help us mobilize. So I think these are really good ideas that we need to take note of, and I think it can really work. Allow me to go to another part of the world. Our Secretary General for Eurasia. Thank you, Rashik, for being with us from the very beginning of the retreat, and also for bringing representatives, elected representatives from Bishkek as well. Really welcome that they have been able to be with us throughout. In our relations with the Eurasian region, beyond the complex context that we are facing now, we also have a linguistic challenge that we need to deal with, and that you are making big efforts to overcome. So how are you looking at the Congress, Rashik? Does it work? Use this one. Don't worry.
Good afternoon. I am Rasik Sagitov, UCLG Eurasia Secretary General. We are situated in the city of Kazan, capital of the Republic of Tatarstan in the Russian Federation. This is my 12th participation in retreat, beginning from 2015, and I consider the retreat is one of the most successful projects that UCLG has undertaken from all his history, and it's very useful and efficient because people can talk with each other, exchange their opinions freely, and I hope that this project will be continued, and every year in February people can get together to discuss everything freely, and just to prepare also to the Congress. You are right that the Congress is not only in Tangier. Congress is now. Congress was before. Whatever we do is
for the Congress, because Congress is a deciding time, and Eurasia also is preparing very well to this Congress. I hope that we will bring their important delegation. We have some difficulties, certainly. We have to find 900 euros for each of participants. We have problems with transfer of money because of international tensions, but I think that we will be able to overcome everything, and this way we will be able to make this Congress in Tangier successful together with all sections of UCLG. And please, first slide. UCLG activities cover all areas of the concept of power of we, related to all things like action, care, research, learning, meeting. We were very active in localizing sustainable development goals. We are very active in heritage preservation of our cities. We organize such kind of congresses, not only within the UCLG, but also in the big Eurasia and many cities all over the world, over the big Eurasia, take part in our tourism and heritage conferences. Second slide, please. In the run-up of the UCLG World Congress in Tangier, Morocco UCLG Eurasia is planning to make its own contribution to the local social covenant by conducting a small thematic research on case spheres of the document of the content of Eurasia region, including issues of cultural rights, housing, health, social security, and others. It's also worth noting that this year we'll finish our research with the Union of Local Self-Government of the Kyrgyz Republic, a member of UCLG Eurasia. We prepare voluntary subnational review together with the learning team of UCLG World Secretariat on Sustainable Development Goals. The project is currently underway, and I believe a second draft of the review will be ready soon. And it will be translated then from Russian into English and be presented to the research team of UCLG World Secretariat. Slide 3, please. Concerning the gender equality, UCLG Eurasia facilitates participation of Eurasia delegates in the UN Commission on Status of Women. As the previous occasions, we are planning to ensure the engagement of the Eurasia delegation in the local regional government day to be held as part of the high-level political forum in New York. Undoubtedly, the major event of UCLG Eurasia's agenda is the World Congress in Tangier. Please, slide 4. We are glad that Eurasia cities are also worthy of hosting high-level events. This year, 3 global events will be held in Eurasia cities. These cities are our members. The World Urban Forum in Baku, Azerbaijan, May 17-22. We hope to participate, and we hope that traditionally Eurasia section is always participating in all urban forums, beginning from World Urban Forum in Barcelona in 2004. We participate in all, actively participate in all urban forums, and this year it is in our region. Slide 5, please. The UN Conference on Combat Desertification Conference in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, August 17-28. Ulaanbaatar is also Ulaanbaatar and Mongolia local governments are also our very active members. And we are happy that this very important UN event will take place in our region. Slide 6, please. Biodiversity Conference in Yerevan, Armenia, October 18-30. This is also our very active member. Armenia local governments are active participants of our regional section. I would like also to highlight the important events being celebrated this year by UCLG Eurasia. This year, our very important city, Nabережные Челны, is celebrating its slide 7, yes. Its 400th anniversary. This city is very important in the economy of the Russian Federation. Not only the 400,000th anniversary, but also the 50th anniversary of production of the trucks KAMAZ, which are very important for the industry of the Russian Federation, of all the Eurasia, of the former Soviet Union countries. And Nabережные Челны, as UCLG member from the very, very beginning, inviting also the interested people to participate in its celebration. Slide 8, please. One of the key areas is culture. I would like to also to invite another very important event which is organized with our member Veliki Novgorod. This is a Russian city, the ancient capital of Russia, very historical World Heritage Site. And they are organizing their musical seminars, which is Slovish in June, and it is very interesting, and also is the aim to attract tourists and to pay attention to the conservation of heritage, not only tangible heritage, but also intangible heritage of our Eurasia region. Slide 10. The climate agenda is also one of UCLG Eurasia areas of activity. You know that the head of the Republic of Sakha in the Russian Federation, Aysen Nikolaev, has been a long time member of UCLD, while being mayor of Yakutsk, and it was our initiative in 2018 with participation of Emilia. We inaugurated the North Forum. Now this North Forum become interregional, not only cities, but also I will explain you. The situation is that the ices are melting and the North Way is opening, because the trips can pass the Northern Way not only 2 months, but also 3 or 4 months because of change of climate, and it's very important. And now this initiative that was initiated by us, now it became a very important event, and they organize it every year in winter. Even the mayor of Venice participating last year, and he told very important thing. You think that the problem of Venice is in Venice? No, it is not in Venice. It is here in the north, because of melting of snows and melting of and changing of climate. And we are happy and proud that the initiatives, once initiated by our organization, become long-term and become not only our municipal thing, but become events of really international event between cities. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Rashik. I want to highlight the important legacy that this region has left in policy of UCLG. It was in the Eurasian region several years before COVID that the membership of Eurasia warned us that there was a pandemic coming, that there was a health issue coming. They talked about this. They wanted to put health on our agenda. We didn't really listen enough. We had a couple of discussions, but we didn't give enough dimension to what's happening. And also, they were the first one that warned us about wildfires. The 6th generation of fires that you cannot put off. It came from Yakutsk as well. And the permafrost problem that does not only apply to water rise, but it applies importantly to health and to the survival of food as we know it, because other types of crops will come out and it probably will kill the food that we eat now. And these are all discussions that we have been having because of the inputs from Eurasia. So this gives us also the dimension. Obviously, I mean, heritage is extremely important. But I'm just sharing with you some of the very impactful topics that we have been able to keep in our agenda because of the inclusion of this type of diversity that we have. And so somehow we need to find a way to make sure that these issues also feed into our into our discussions, and that despite the complex context that we have, Rashik, we managed to have a strong representation that will feed in the discussions of the social covenant, and because the definition of the new essentials will not be possible without taking this part of the world as well into account, and their experience that they have with a very different context right now. So thank you very much for that. I think many colleagues must have enjoyed your presentation, because it's not necessarily something that we realize every day, and also making the connection between the international agenda of Eurasia and our advocacy plan. So we look forward to going to the World Urban Forum and to seeing many of your members there. I think we need to work together so that our pavilion is really diverse. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to start calling the floor as well. So if you have comments or issues that you would like to raise, please don't hesitate doing that. But allow me now to give the floor to Sergio Arredondo, the Secretary General of our Latin American section, and the General Secretariat for FLACMA. Sergio, pensamientos también desde tu región, desde tu perspectiva sobre el contexto, pero también sobre las expectativas del Congreso, ¿no? Como hemos, no sé qué pensamientos te han producido estos días que has estado también desde el principio con nosotros, viendo el contexto con nuestros socios y desde la región, teniendo en cuenta el nuevo contexto que se abre ahí. O sea que encantada de tenerte con nosotros. A ti la palabra.
Gracias, secretaria. Muy buenas tardes a todos, a todas. Empiezo por lo importante, hacer un reconocimiento al equipo de trabajo, al equipo de la Secretaría General, a todos, el extraordinario equipo de colaboradores que nos han acogido, que nos han atendido, que han trabajado muchos meses para que la agenda de toda esta semana, tan intensa, tan cargada de diálogos, de debates, de acuerdos, se pueda producir. Así es que primero que nada, eso. Segundo, también agradecer a la delegación latinoamericana, que algunos políticos importantes la han encabezado, el alcalde de Niterói, presidente de Mercociudades, Paola Pavón, mis queridos colegas de Mercociudades, Jorge, Lautaro, agradecerle también al representante del presidente de FLACMA, Felipe Ochoa de Cuenca, al secretario adjunto Fernando Arnaiz, a toda la delegación latinoamericana que estamos acá participando con mucho cariño, con mucho compromiso, y coincido con Rashik, que ha sido una semana enriquecedora, que de la cual llevamos un buen bagaje. Empezamos el lunes con el Task Force, donde hablamos pues de la agenda multilateral, de los temas de toda la semana, hablamos también de nuestras prioridades. Y ya que estamos cerca de terminar estas jornadas, gracias, secretaria, por la oportunidad de compartir un par de ideas, tres ideas desde Latinoamérica, desde la sección latinoamericana. Por un lado, lo que ya sabemos todos, pero que no hay que perder de vista. Vivimos en un mundo nuevo, diferente, en los últimos meses, un escenario global sin precedentes. Ya hemos coincidido, hemos escuchado muchas ideas muy importantes, sobre todo el miércoles, de nuestros políticos. Y la visión nuestra en ese escenario pues es un tema relevante desde nuestro punto de vista latinoamericano para construir nuestra estrategia rumbo a Tangier. No vemos un panorama amigable en el impacto que ese nuevo escenario global está teniendo en las regiones, en las diferentes regiones, en los diferentes continentes, en los países. Y no voy a abundar porque se han dicho ya estos días cosas muy importantes, pero destaco dos que he repetido, lo dije el lunes. Desde América Latina estamos viendo una recentralización, un empoderamiento de los actores, de los líderes nacionales en los países, recentralizando competencias, recursos, instrumentos de desarrollo, y eso, obvio, deriva en lo que estamos viendo. en particular en América Latina, una fragilidad de nuestras ciudades, un debilitamiento de nuestros gobiernos locales y en consecuencia una limitación en las oportunidades que la gente, los ciudadanos de a pie, tienen para mejorar su calidad de vida, como lo dijo mi amigo Jorge Rodríguez. Segundo, viene a nuestra mente al reunirnos en este encuentro, pues una necesidad que nosotros consideramos importante desde América Latina, reformar nuestro movimiento. Creo que se hace imprescindible, creo que en los pasillos y en las mesas estamos escuchando esa necesidad constructiva, propositiva de reformar nuestro movimiento global, no necesariamente nuestra organización, nuestro movimiento, reformarnos con visión inteligente, con visión de adaptación a los nuevos escenarios mundiales que ya mencioné. Y para ello, bueno, que necesitamos una agenda vigorosa, eso ya empiezo a hablar de Tangier, donde desde nuestro punto de vista tenemos que hacer coincidir la visión global con la regional, de los continentes y de los países. Pensamos desde América Latina que esa ruta, que esa construcción de esa nueva agenda tiene que ser política en primer lugar. Tenemos que tener un diálogo político de los actores políticos, alcaldes, gobiernos nacionales, congresos, organismos multilaterales, y eso nos tiene que llevar a construir un nuevo modelo de ciudad. ¿Cuál es el nuevo modelo de ciudad que queremos para esta nueva circunstancia mundial? Pensamos, sí, lo dije el lunes, que hay algunos procesos internacionales que están agotados. Tenemos que repensar los ODS, la nueva agenda urbana, tenemos que repensar los procesos de descentralización que se suceden o se han sucedido en nuestros países en los últimos lustros. Y para ello es clave tener presentes que las ciudades tenemos principalmente una agenda social. Los temas de las ciudades es nuestra agenda social, nuestra democracia local, porque nosotros trabajamos, nos debemos y tenemos día a día, ya lo sabemos, a la gente frente a nosotros. Y esa gente espera mejores servicios públicos, espera mejor seguridad. Se los dice un mexicano que en estos últimos días pues, ha visto cómo más de la mitad del territorio está incendiado, literalmente incendiado. Y el pronóstico es reservado. Pero deviene de un cáncer de la delincuencia organizada, del narcotráfico, que está explotando en toda América Latina. Yo viajo por América Latina y dije, lo que estoy viendo en México hace 20 años, pues ya lo estoy viendo en Ecuador y en Bolivia y en Perú y en toda América Latina. Si uno le pregunta a un dirigente local en América Latina, ¿cuál es tu tema uno de preocupación? Todos respondemos lo mismo, grandes, medianas y pequeñas ciudades, el financiamiento del desarrollo. ¿Cómo logro tener un instrumento de financiamiento? En mi país, en México, el 4% de los recursos fiscales van a las ciudades. El 80% se lo queda al gobierno nacional. Sin capacidad económica, presupuestal, sin instrumentos de desarrollo, sin competencias, los gobiernos, los líderes locales están atados de manos para resolver los problemas de la gente. Necesitamos también vernos en el espejo y modernizar, renovar, ordenar, transparentar la gestión de nuestros gobiernos locales. Los latinoamericanos tenemos frente a nosotros día a día, los líderes locales, los temas de pobreza y todo lo que deriva de ello. Ese es un tema central que no es necesariamente la visión europea o de otras regiones del mundo de Norteamérica. Nos interesa muchísimo el tema de la cooperación internacional porque lo vemos como una posibilidad de conectarnos a procesos virtuosos técnicamente, pero también recibir financiamiento, cooperación horizontal, todas las modalidades de cooperación que existen. Y luego temas, ya termino esta parte, temas como la migración, que es un tema sensible, agudo por mi país en México, toda la migración que viene del sur y que hoy nos estamos encontrando con políticas diferentes en el norte para resolver ese tema que es multidimensional y complejo. Y finalmente, una reflexión final, secretaria, sobre esto, cómo lo tenemos en mente cuando nos preparamos para ir a Tánger. Y vemos en ese congreso un desafío, sí, pero una oportunidad enorme de que podamos, con inteligencia de nuestros dirigentes, también de nosotros, los equipos técnicos, construir un proyecto de nuestro movimiento más sólido, más potente. Queremos que se empodere a nuestro liderazgo. Lo hemos platicado con la secretaria general, con nuestros colegas, que queremos tener un liderazgo potente, no solo el presidente o la presidenta, sino todo nuestro liderazgo, empoderarlo en forma real, no en forma simulada, sino un liderazgo real. Creo que la fórmula de los 4 años anteriores no nos satisface a nadie. Para ello, ¿qué necesitamos? Líderes con compromiso, con visión institucional, que conozcan la institución y sepan dónde apretar los botones, que tengan como una prioridad fortalecer nuestro asociacionismo. En América Latina somos 16,000 ciudades. ¿Cómo llegamos a las 10,000 ciudades? A través de las asociaciones. Si no, no vamos a llegar nunca. Podemos capacitar a 15, 50 o 200 municipios, pero somos 18,000 gobiernos locales. Entonces el asociacionismo es clave y cómo hacemos esa reingeniería de nuestro asociacionismo. Y luego tener un liderazgo también basado en el consenso, en la cohesión. Por ahí oigo de algunos prospectos que se lanzan sus candidaturas y quieren liderar nuestra organización y nunca han estado aquí, nunca han venido físicamente, desde luego participativamente. Entonces, un liderazgo realmente empoderado. Y entonces vemos a CGLU, a nuestro movimiento, en una encrucijada. ¿Hacia dónde? Y nosotros decimos hay que tomar el camino de la visión territorial, de tener claro que nuestro movimiento a nivel mundial debe tener prioridad en las ciudades y en los países y en los territorios. Entonces, un proyecto territorial estamos postulando nosotros rumbo a Tánger. Termino, secretaria. Y entonces tenemos la expectativa de un debate político que fortalezca nuestro movimiento, acuerdos trascendentes. No podemos equivocarnos, tenemos que tener líderes comprometidos y creo que eso es posible rumbo a Tánger, que están las condiciones dadas. Como bien dijiste tú el miércoles, hay dificultades, sí. Hay que reconocerlas, pero hay que resolverlas. Y eso creo que tenemos la capacidad de hacerlos con la inteligencia que sobra en nuestro movimiento. Gracias, secretaria.
Muchísimas gracias, Sergio. Para los que no forman parte de la vida estatutaria de CGLU, como somos los secretarios y los políticos, aclarar que cuando Sergio, estoy segura de que es así, cuando Sergio dice que no nos ha satisfecho estos últimos 4 años, ¿no? El formato de liderazgo es la rotación de año a año, porque los liderazgos individuales creo que han sido liderazgos muy potentes. Hemos tenido grandes lujos de tener liderazgo latinoamericano, liderazgo de Oriente Medio, liderazgo europeo, de gran seriedad y de gran africano también, de gran seriedad y de gran compromiso. Pero aclarar, Sergio, no es cierto que es esa construcción que encontramos de rotación, efectivamente, para llegar a acuerdos que nos satisface. Y cuando yo le comentaba a nuestra presidencia que había dificultades para llegar a Tánger, son dificultades propias de todas las elecciones. O sea, yo siempre en CGLU, que es una organización democrática, hay tensiones antes de llegar a las elecciones y eso es normal. Entonces, solo para los compañeros y compañeras que están aquí y pueden pensar que hay otro tipo de tensión o dificultad, no, son las propias de querer ganar unas elecciones y de querer liderar. Entonces, muchísimas gracias, Sergio. Solo esa aclaración para que no piense en la sala que tenemos otro tipo de problemas. Muchísimas gracias por esa visión. Y lo que yo sí que espero es que de esas prioridades que venías describiendo, con las que creo todo el mundo se identifica mucho, que hayas visto a lo largo de la semana que sí que se están abordando en los preparativos. Veamos si hay algún énfasis que le tengamos que dar. Digo en términos de contenido de la política que llevemos a Tánger. O sea que muchísimas gracias. And thank you to all the Secretary Generals, to the colleagues in the sections, because as I was explaining to one of the participants yesterday, there is a very big burden that goes together with managing a section of UCLG in terms of making sure that the processes are sound and that everybody feels included, and that we organize representation in the right way. There is obviously a part that is carried by the World Secretariat, but there is a very important part that is carried by the sections to ensure that the nominations to our World Council are as inclusive as possible. So to colleagues and partners, this is what it is about in UCLG. Thank you very much, Sergio, for bringing that. And I want to go to our colleague from UCLG MEWA, and I will be looking around as well to Hans, because we just have a few more points that we would like to discuss, and we are reaching the end of our I would say short week. It went really fast, but it's many days. So if there are things that you want to share at this point, if there are issues that concern you, that if you want to share with us your experience, this is the moment to do it. But before that, we want to make sure that the voice of UCLG MEWA is also heard with our dear colleague, Yahya. Our Secretary General for UCLG MEWA, Mehmet Duman, has not been able to make it this time, but he's usually here. It's a difficult period with Ramadan, and also we're very grateful that you're here. Dear friend, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Emilia, and it's been a great week, by the way, in Barcelona, so in terms of weather especially, so it's really good. And I want to start with the point that actually Jordi was talking about the engagement. There is always different ways of engagement, and from section to other, it's really different, and then sometimes it's really difficult because in our region, you know, it's not the calmest region in the world. We have many challenges in terms of conflicts, the lack of capacity, and that's why as a secretariat, so Emilia was telling that as World Secretariat we need to deal with many tasks but with small staff. So here the sections, the rule of section is very important, and recently we tried to make this engagement that we are talking about, like we have three aspects, okay? So we're trying to get in very close coordination with the locally elected people, the mayors, explaining to them the value or the added value that they will have from UCLG network, from the world of local and regional government, because it's not for us the concept of global municipal movement, multilateralism is something that we are very familiar with when it comes to the technical people. But when it comes to the locally elected people, it's quite difficult to understand. So difficult for them to be engaged as much as we. So that's the first aspect, to understand, to explain more and more the network. And then, so which is one of our biggest challenges is, at the end of the day, they are elected people. They have commitment for their local community. So recently we tried to fill the gap, because look, when it comes to UCLG and UCLG network, today we are in Barcelona. I mean, after 1 month we will be in Mexico, then in Tangier, New York, Ulaanbaatar. So it's difficult for mayors sometimes to explain it, to justify it for local community. So recently we tried to have our meetings, our gathering in the region, side by side with the local community. So Emilia, 2 weeks ago, you participated in our Committee on Women. It was very good meeting. By the way, we have new blood, we have new faces now. They are very motivated to be part of the network. The mayor of Izmit, she will be the president of our Committee on Women. And you saw how crowded it was, the hall. So the thing here, it was like a presidency meeting for the committee, which one president and 5 co-presidents. But the mayor, after she understood the idea behind UCLG, she said, okay, so I need to explain it to my people, to the locals. I have now responsibilities at the global level, but first, I need to explain it to the local community. So we had many, I mean, the academia, the civil society, the enterprises, the private sector, even the politicians from the political parties participating in our meeting. And we had like a chat with them explaining what UCLG, what we are doing, what UCLG MEWA, what the role of the mayor, how important it is. And then the third aspect is to engage the engagement of UCLG. So the first session when Pedro said like the Congress starts now. Yes, the Congress starts from now, but for UCLG MEWA we started our Congress right after our Congress. The preparation for Tangier started after our Congress. We held our Congress 4 months ago, and since then we tried to explain to look, Tangier is important. So, as you said, Emily, it's a time for us to show our muscles, to show to people how the community of local and regional government can do, how we can contribute to the multilateral system. So, try to explain it time by time for mayors, for their teams, okay? And we're pretty sure that we will have like a good representation in Tangier. It's very important for us to start mobilizing people, dealing with these statutory things. You know, I see Carol here. We always talking to Carol, to Pera, in terms of financial, and thank you too much for your support. It's really important. And yes, I'm not going to take much more time because I know everyone wants to leave. It was a tough week. At the end of, just to conclude, 1 day of local multilateralism is one of our top priorities in this year. It's challenging year for all of us, but we are pretty sure that after Tangier, our network will be more stronger than ever. Thank you, Emilia.
Thank you very much, Yahya. And now it is really a luxury to have Yahya and the colleagues from UCLG MEWA working so closely with us. The alignment of the MEWA section with our policy priorities is truly amazing. I mean, that committee meeting of gender equality was very impressive. The new chair is very impressive. And the challenge that we have, Yahya, is to make sure that women like her reach other spaces in UCLG, and not only the gender committee. But we're getting there. We're getting there.
Just a more point that for the nominations, you know, we need, of course, we have here some people that they are not familiar with our statutory things, but the quota of women, it's, to be honest, we don't have in our region that enough locally elected women.
Our quota is higher than your percentages.
Exactly, yes. But we are trying to convince the mayors that, yes, you still can be represented, but you can, your city can be represented by city council. A women's city council, so we can fit we can ensure the voices of women, as you mentioned, integrated in all UCLG bodies. That's the strategy we are trying to following up now.
Thank you so much. Thank you for confirming that. It's a struggle. So thank you for sharing. I found it very interesting what you're saying, and it really touches the point of outreach that we were talking about, of how political representatives explain UCLG at home. The situation in many parts of the world is not what Yahya is describing. situation in many parts of the world is they participate in UCLG, but they need to be very quiet about it because it's not going to be well received at home. And so I am happy to see that there are different realities, different balances, and I really like what I'm hearing here. I think it's a good sign, but I don't know how real that is everywhere. However, very relevant, I think, for the discussion that we're having today, and who knows, Pedro, if it is something that we can take into account when we think of a broader strategy beyond Tangier, beyond Tangier. So thank you very much for that input. Allow me to go to Evgenia. Evgenia is the Vice Mayor of Kazan, and she has been obviously, like the city of Kazan and the mayor Ilsur Mesin, extremely active, part of our presidency for a very long time, so very well acquainted, important leadership for our Euro-Asian section where the section is actually housed. Thank you, Evgenia, for being with us. And today the proposal is for you to talk about another important initiative that has been led by Kazan, which is also approaching other parts of plurilateralism, namely BRICS. We have an association of BRICS cities. So if you could share a little bit of where you are with that. Thank you, Evgenia.
Thank you, Emilia. Thank you. Yes, Kazan is 22 years, is a part of UCLG. You know, it's a very, very long way. And 2 years ago, the mayor of Kazan was an initiative, as you said, about to create the new organization, the BRICS Cities Association. And it was founded in Kazan, and we are working 2 years now. And now I am represented not only the Kazan, not only the Eurasia section, but the association of the BRICS cities too. First of all, the goal of this association is to develop the practical partnerships among cities of the various countries in economic, cultural, social, and other spheres. And for us is very, very important. We are not a political organization, first of all. We are a practice organization because, for example, we have 6 committees in organization. Committee of Architects, Committee of Social Development, and others. And for example, on the platform of association, the architects can talk together, and maybe they create a new project in the cities. It's very, very important for us. And as you know, the BRICS is expanding now. And now we have 11 countries in the BRICS and several partners, and they are all working together. And first of all, they're changing their practice, the practice in urban, as I said, as in social and in other. Of course, we have the BRICS Women's Committee in our association. Yes. I think that you know the Sora from Brazil. She's the head of this committee, and she's very active in it. We have a head of committee, for example, of architecture. Kazan is the head of this committee, and I know the main task one of the main tasks in Tangier will be the election. I know what is it. I passed it 3 times.
You have suffered. You have suffered that.
Yes.
Dear friend, I know it hurts.
And you know, in our organization, we did the rotation presidency for one year because, for example, in this year, Brazil is main in the BRICS. We have the mayor of Marica from Brazil. He's the presidency of this year. On the next year, in the last year, it was Brazil. In this year, India, and we will have the General Assembly in New Delhi in 16th of March. very close. And we were elected a new mayor from India, who will be with the presidency for 1 year for this one. For us, it's very clear, it's very easy, and we are working with all, of course. And one last and very important message. We are not in opposite, we are together. We signed the agreement with Emilia in Sian, and we are also the part of UCLG, but we have an association which is a part of UCLG too. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Evgenia. Thank you. Yeah, so thank you very much for sharing. I think it's a very important development. You know, our capacity also as membership of UCLG to look at the BRICS and to ensure that interlocution, to create this community among the BRIC members of UCLG. As you were saying, from a technical level perspective, those relationships are very, very important. But beyond that, I think there are further steps to create that interlocution with the BRIC member states, and so it is very smart that the BRICS Association is mirroring what we are trying to do also with Urban 20 in terms of rotating chairs. Rotating chairs doesn't seem to work for UCLG though, so everybody was not happy about that. It's funny because every time I talk with my colleagues, the Secretary Generals of the sections, etc., they explain to me how easy it is for them to arrange leadership without a complex and painful political vote, but I never managed to see this in UCLG, even before my mandate as Secretary General. So I think it's something global, you know. You can reach agreements when you are within a certain parameter, and it's more difficult now to reach global agreements, but we will manage, Evgenia, and we will manage. And I am very grateful for. I was talking about the pain that one feels in the process of elections during the presidency meeting. But thank you very much. We really value your experience, and I very much look forward to enhancing the collaboration between the global UCLG and the BRICS. So thank you very much for that. I'm looking at hands. Are there any comments? Other people from the table that would like to say anything? Because if not, I would go to my colleagues. I have Carlos Mascalel, who is heading our Forum of Regions, facilitating the work of the Forum of Regions. Then I have the head of the International Observatory on Participatory Democracy, and I would close with Jordi, general words as well from the perspective as coordinator of the Tangier Congress. You have quite a lot of homework now, Jordi, yeah. But you first, and then I go to you, Carles.
Muy buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Venimos desde el Ecuador, desde la ciudad de Cuenca, representando pues a las mujeres, con el liderazgo de nuestro alcalde, el doctor Cristian Zamora. Ha sido una agenda muy interesante en donde se renueva y promueve el liderazgo de las mujeres, y lo digo porque lo represento. Estamos hablando de una gobernanza inclusiva, sostenible, una democracia renovada, en donde se visibiliza a la mujer, y es muy importante nosotros continuar con ese legado, porque eso nos permitirá erradicar la violencia política de género que hemos sido realmente pues afectadas. Yo creo que sobre todo hablando de América Latina, América del Sur, es por ello que los gobiernos locales y regionales somos la base fundamental para el desarrollo sostenible, actuando como la primera línea de respuesta a los desafíos globales. Aquí hago esa cordial invitación para seguirnos fortaleciendo y seguir trabajando mancomunadamente, porque estos son los espacios que nos permiten estar, como indiqué hace un momento, en primera línea y sobre todo dar una respuesta inmediata a la ciudadanía, a la población que tanto necesita expresar la voz a través de nosotros. Hasta allí. Muchas gracias.
Muchísimas gracias. Realmente. me gusta mucho que haya esta voz sobre la participación de la mujer, que sí se ha oído a lo largo del retiro, pero que resulta muy, muy importante cuando estamos efectivamente a las puertas de finalizar la representación en la red. Para nosotros el feminismo y la participación de las mujeres no es una cosa sobre papel, es realmente algo que tenemos que mejorar, y tenemos que mejorar la situación dentro de las instancias ejecutivas también, ¿no? La representación, más voces de mujeres en presidencia, más voces de mujeres en el Consejo Mundial. Y ayer la presidenta de CGLU África estaba dando una solución para que cuando había muchos problemas de nominaciones de principales en el Consejo Mundial, hay representación de principales y después hay sustitutos, que se hiciera una alternancia para equilibrar los géneros, y ellos en África en particular querían tener más mujeres como sustitutos. Entonces agradezco mucho este llamado, y un abrazo realmente muy grande también al alcalde, a Cristian Zamora, que hace un trabajo muy importante para FLACMA y para CGLU desde el Foro de Ciudades Intermedias y más, Felipe, y mucho más. Muchísimas gracias. Pues Carlos, sí, vamos ahora a la perspectiva del Foro de Regiones. Tú también tienes en tu portfolio la perspectiva de Ciudades Intermedias ahora, porque para nosotros lo territorial está muy relacionado, o sea que un poco de reflexiones de cómo llega tu área de trabajo al Congreso, y después nos vamos con Adrián.
Gracias, Emilia. Bueno, no es casualidad que estemos en la misma mesa junto con Felipe, como bien ha explicado Emilia, y la verdad es que me ahorra un poco de trabajo porque ha explicado mejor que yo seguro lo que estamos haciendo en ciudades intermedias. Digo que no es casualidad porque, como sabéis, también tenemos una sección regional. La organización tiene aquí presentes hoy también muchos miembros, y a lo largo de esta semana. Como sabéis, en Xi'an aprobamos un nuevo mandato que consolida al Foro de Regiones. Este año celebramos los 10 años desde que empezamos a trabajar desde la perspectiva regional. Como sabéis, hay distintos tipos de gobiernos regionales, no solo son regiones con competencias legislativas, sino que también son prefecturas, departamentos y demás, y estamos intentando mapear un poquito y profundizar el trabajo que vamos a hacer en los próximos meses. De cara a Tangier, lo que viene en las próximas semanas es profundizar la agenda que hicimos en Xi'an, que es un mandato más bien genérico. Queremos consolidar el espacio, tanto a nivel estatutario como político, en la organización, y eso significa que las regiones y todos los gobiernos territoriales estén más presentes, no solo en las agendas globales, sino en todo lo que hace la organización desde el punto de vista temático. Esto sería una parte del trabajo que estamos intentando consolidar, y por otra crear una agenda más específica del Foro de Regiones, que vaya muy en paralelo a lo que hace Ciudades Intermedias en este caso. Hubo el Foro de Cuenca, pero la idea es que el Fab Lab, lo que ha explicado antes Felipe, se convierta en una estructura permanente entre reuniones, digamos, del Foro de Ciudades Intermedias, que vertebre el territorio. Entonces, por eso tiene sentido que el Foro de Regiones y, digamos, el Fab Lab y los futuros foros estén juntos, porque no solo se trata de ciudades, de grandes ciudades, sino también de cómo vertebramos el territorio. Y de hecho es clarísimo, y todos sabemos que nos beneficiamos todos de tener un territorio cohesionado, en el que las zonas periurbanas, las zonas rurales, junto con las ciudades intermedias y las metrópolis o ciudades más de referencia, estén trabajando juntas. Dicho esto, 3 ideas fundamentales, y no voy a...
3 breves, eso sí, 3
no voy a extenderme demasiado. Está abierta la agenda, vamos a discutir en las próximas semanas para que aportéis ideas desde todas las secciones, desde todos los lugares del mundo, en 3 ejes: advocacy, esta es una. La segunda, cómo intercambiamos mejor entre nosotros, mentorías, aprendizaje y peer learning en este caso, y luego potenciales programas y pilotos que podamos hacer juntos. Ese es el objetivo, y en Tangier daremos lanzamiento un poco a esa agenda un poco más consolidada y profundizada desde el punto de vista temático. Gracias.
Muchísimas gracias, Carles. Como ha sido tan disciplinado y tan breve, solo añadir yo una cosa. Mira, very important for us is we are also proposing the chair, the president of the Forum of Regions was here this week. She's part of the presidency because the Forum of Regions gives a vice president, like all of the other sections, to the presidency. That's Paula Pavón. And we are going into a phase where we are trying to consolidate and institutionalize the forum. For those of you that do not understand that the membership of UCLG includes regions and cities, towns, and their associations, so this whole spectrum. We have many regions and departments and prefectures that are part of UCLG, but not all of them are active within the Forum of Regions, and we want to give a more specific space because they are participating in other parts of the network, but we want to give them also visibility in the seats of the council. And that we don't have yet. So right now we have regions that are part of the council as part of Europe, of Africa, or wherever, but we want to explore possibilities to institutionalize the forum with seats in the council. This is important for us because this is something that we are taking into account when preparing the participation of regional governments, not only in UCLG, but also in Tangier. So thank you very much, Carles, also for those very clear axes of action that you have given and the link with the intermediary cities, which has always been there, but I think now we are starting to expand a bit and to consolidate. So thank you very much for that. I really look forward to the labs as well. Adria, on what? What do you want to tell us? How is the International Observatory getting ready?
So hello everyone. Also I would like to congratulate all of you participants and all the colleagues for this week. I think it has been really a great week, also for us from the observatory, but also from the committee. I think our members that have been here, they really, I think, enjoy and take the opportunity to be here this week, also to learn about the connections with the rest of the organization, and of course regarding to Tangier. So yeah, I would like to focus on like three our main priorities from the Committee on Social Inclusion, Participatory Democracy and Human Rights. For sure about the social agenda, I think it's going to be so important and also related with the care approach. I think it has been really present. Of course, the housing agenda, that it's really important for our members, and it's going to be also for the connection with the World Urban Forum that has been really discussed during the week. And of course, yesterday, I think it was really important, all this dialogue that we're having with the workers. I think it has been a really important session, and we're starting this process of social dialogue that I think it's going to be quite important for the movement and link it to the public services delivery. So it's quite important. Of course, the second point is all the human rights agenda, that I think it's really important for us, for the committee, and to being also present at the Congress. So from the committee, we have been working, as some of you know, in this new Global Charter agenda that's going to be presented then. We have here our co-presidents of Mexico City that has been helping us with that. And of course, the issue of violence. I think our colleagues from Saint Denis has bringing the perspective of violence against women, that it's also, it's not a nice issue to talk, but I think it's quite important to put also on the table the question of violences that are in many of our cities, in our communities. So it's going to be for sure one of our priorities. And finally, of course, all the thematic on local democracy and participatory democracy that, I mean, on Wednesday was really present, all the debate on trust and leadership, and of course with the relation with new multilateralism. And I think it's quite important that we keep this agenda on the center. We have the colleagues of the Open Government Partnership and other colleagues that can be also participating, like the Global Democracy Coalition, etc. And was also really important for us to having the opportunity to present the conference in Krakow of next September. And yeah, we will be bringing all these topics to the Congress.
I think one critical issue that you have brought beyond our campaign on 100,000 cities for human rights. I mean, it is great to see how a lot of the work that we do is now being referenced by the Office of the High Commissioner. We have produced a guidance note together with the UN. It's very hard to tell this. I mean, how do you explain to your members that UCLG is referenced by the UN? By sending an email and saying, hey, we have been referenced. Okay. But it's a very big deal. So by measuring impact, Jordi, I was thinking about you. When I read it, I mean, when the teams sent that this morning, I was like, how do you tell this, and how do you make sure that people understand how relevant it is? But beyond that, I think that truly the Charter Agenda on Human Rights is going to be a very important stepping stone from the covenant to implementation throughout. And we are looking at it very, very carefully to see that we are making sure that we manage to adopt this agenda, because we have failed before. So now we are being very cautious, taking steps, making sure that everybody is aware and that everybody is included, because I think that the adoption of the Charter Agenda will be critical for the significant implementation of the outcomes of the social covenant. So working on that, and I think it's going to mobilize quite a lot of people in Tangier as well. So thank you very much for sharing. I'm going back to the table. Really very quick remarks. Bernardia. Jordi, would you like to say? No, you are okay? Okay, Bernardia, I see you. Please, go ahead.
Thank you, Emilia. There are a lot of practices, innovations that come from Asia Pacific. So I want to check also with UCLG World if we can have a space in Tangier, if it's still possible, to show some of the innovations that come from Asia Pacific, because I think our roles or functions are very important, because we translate all those global frameworks into regional frameworks, and this is certainly important. And the second is the role or key function that we have in amplify the impacts. And make it into more impactful, messages, because I think there are many ways we can measure the impacts. What we do in Asia Pacific is we conduct also survey and among the members and check what are the impacts that come out from the organizations. The second, also we're looking at all these documents that reflecting the outcomes and outputs as well. For example, with ASEAN just released ASEAN Community Vision 2045 last year by members states, by the leaders in Kuala Lumpur. And they mention local governments in all the documents, all those 3 pillars, including the ASEAN Governors and Mayors Forum that we are organizing all as a secretariat of the AGMF. This is just an example how lobbying negotiations. So that's how we measure it. So Emily, I just mentioned that how we can also, because we plan to have a side events during the Tangier to show the result and innovation that come from Asia Pacific related to disaster risk reduction, the one that we also UCLG World took as also our joint program together. disaster risk reduction, also climate resilience. And now what we have been promoting is nature-based solutions. This is also our priority, and addressing all those three planetary crises. But we have to be unstoppable as organizations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bernardia. And I think that all the approaches from a regional perspective of your strategies, we need to land that in the assembly track of the Congress. So don't look at it as a side event, you know, a thematic side event. Let us organize it in the assembly track. And let us see how we can do that. Because, as I said, we don't want the Congress to be a very big number of parallel side events. We need to make sure that we streamline it, because it is not possible to do that parallel number of events while mainstreaming and prioritizing. Anna, a couple of words on the research work, if you want. And I'm still looking at the room, and we're closing, I promise. Ana.
Claro, gracias, Emilia. Bueno, desde el punto de vista de la investigación, creo que tengo que decir que estoy muy contenta, porque muchas de las conversaciones que hemos tenido estos días y de las afirmaciones que se han hecho y de las narrativas que hemos defendido las tenemos bien desarrolladas, ¿no? Desde el punto de vista de la evidencia, a través de los procesos de investigación que estamos haciendo desde CGLU. Tenemos muchísimas prácticas que defienden, que argumentan, que demuestran que vamos por el buen camino, creo. Y bueno, muy contenta de haber compartido todos estos momentos esta semana con vosotras. Creo que puedo anunciar un par de cosillas más a nivel celebratorio, que es que el proceso Goal 7 sobre economías de la igualdad y los cuidados, que hemos hablado mucho de cuidados esta semana, pues lo culminamos en el Congreso en junio con una publicación final. Así que stay tuned en estos últimos meses de proceso, porque también habrá diferentes publicaciones en torno a los cuidados. Y bueno, ya de cara al Foro Político de Alto Nivel de Desarrollo Sostenible, que celebraremos en julio, justo después del Congreso, 2 semanitas después, pues un momento muy importante, que es la publicación de este 10º informe hacia la localización de los ODS, Towards the Localization of the SDGs, y que creo que es una evolución súper importante desde esos momentos, Emilia, al principio, ¿no?, de adopción de la Agenda 2030, donde picábamos a puertas y no nos abrían, hasta ahora que tenemos espacios oficiales con Naciones Unidas dentro de sus headquarters, y este informe que siempre trae muchísimas prácticas, muchísimas recomendaciones políticas fuertes y potentes por nuestra parte, que bueno, eso que será el 10º aniversario este año, este 10º informe.
Muchísimas gracias, Ana, pues a celebrar. Y nuestra jefa de programas sobre los highlights de los programas que estamos haciendo y que esperamos que contribuyan hacia Tánger, porque también estamos implementando programas, ¿o no, María Alejandra? Sí, algunos, un par.
¿O no? No, sí estamos implementando programas, claro que sí. Muchas gracias, Emilia. Comentarles que claramente una de las visiones que tenemos al Congreso es llegar con los resultados de los programas, con la evidencia de los programas que hemos estado desarrollando en los últimos 2 años, no solamente el programa de Juventud y Acción Climática, sino también el programa de Mujeres, Jóvenes, Inclusión Democrática, y otra serie de programas que también están un poco como en vía de construcción, como es el programa en relación a accesibilidad. Entonces, la idea también nosotros es escuchar, ¿no? Escucharlos a ustedes, porque creemos que el mostrar resultados en el Congreso es muy importante, el mostrar el resultado que hace el territorio en el Congreso, pero también y tomando un poco la referencia de discusiones que se han hecho, cómo se hablan con los donantes, cómo es la relación con las filantropías, ¿no?, que también son parte de este ecosistema que estamos teniendo nosotros con los programas, y creemos que es también muy interesante, ¿no?, llevar estas discusiones, como creo que comentaba Lorena, al Congreso de una manera diferente. Muchas gracias, Emilia.
Muchísimas gracias, María Alejandra. O sea, tenemos el enfoque en accesibilidad con un programa muy concreto en Kisumu, que creo que va a ser para nosotros un reto de implementación, pero muy interesante. Tenemos el enfoque en los jóvenes y clima. Clima en general es otra gran área programática, y tenemos la cuestión de la participación política de las mujeres y poniendo énfasis en el liderazgo joven. O sea que yo creo que es importante recordar esto, porque también esto forma parte de lo que tenemos que movilizar y va a darle forma a esas labs o sesiones paralelas que tenemos que encontrar, Pedro, algún formato para poder ir contando todo eso. Yo no sé si el jefe de Policy quiere decir algo sobre cómo te sientes. Sí, ya lo veíais venir. Si es que iba de head a head, pues ya lo veíais venir. Si quieres decir algo sobre cómo has sentido el trabajo con los town halls y el social covenant, Albert.
Sí, gracias, Emilia. Pues contar un poco sobre todo dónde estamos con esto que decías tú, que es el covenant, en tanto a proceso político que nos tiene que llevar a Tánger. Hemos estado escuchando estos días un poco el diálogo estructurado con la sociedad civil a través del Town Hall. Aquí tenemos hoy todavía a Lorena, que está coordinando desde la plataforma este engagement de la sociedad civil. Pero digamos que el proceso para definir este mandato de cara al Congreso se ha articulado a través de un proceso de intercambio epistolar. Estamos poniendo en diálogo a la sociedad civil a través de cartas que pidan recomendaciones, que pidan acción, que pidan compromiso político a los gobiernos locales, y a su vez, a través de nuestros consejos políticos, estamos articulando una respuesta. De este diálogo esperamos que nazca el mandato político que vamos a no solo aprobar, esperemos, sino también desarrollar y empezar a ver cómo implementar y operacionalizar después del Congreso de Tánger. Este proceso de intercambio de cartas, estamos en una fase prácticamente para empezar a consolidar una respuesta. Muy contentos del engagement que ha habido tanto de la sociedad civil como de la membresía de CGLU, de las secciones, con lo que contentos y con ganas de ver cómo este proceso continúa adelante de cara a Marruecos.
Pues muchas gracias. José, ¿algo de esta sesión que quieras destacar, como estabas anunciando antes, a tener en cuenta para la parte de outreach?
Sí, pues de hecho voy a hablar también en castellano porque ya cerramos todos. De hecho esta sesión me deja con bastantes deberes a mí y al equipo de comunicación de CGLU en cuanto a cómo aumentamos nuestro impacto. O sea, tenemos que revisarnos bien qué se ha dicho luego, pero sobre todo queremos, con el apoyo del resto de partes de la red y de cara a Tánger, potenciar a quién llegamos, cómo extendemos el impacto de CGLU en la comunicación. Ya hemos empezado este año con iniciativas como el partenariado que tenemos con DEVEX, en el que hemos publicado un artículo de la secretaria general y del alcalde de Tánger para promocionar el Congreso. Es una colaboración que vamos a seguir extendiendo a lo largo de este año y también de cara al Congreso, pero sobre todo queremos buscar con las narrativas que estamos desarrollando de cara al Congreso, poniendo los servicios públicos en el centro y poniendo los cuidados y el resto de valores que defendemos como organización, cómo crecer y cómo extender nuestro alcance más allá de los cauces en los que estamos ya acostumbrados a estar. Así que gracias por los deberes que nos habéis dado y seguid al tanto porque nos queda mucho todavía.
Gracias por habernos dado más deberes todavía. Carol, Statutory Affairs.
Oh, I don't know if I can add anything because the Secretaries General have also mentioned it. You have my colleague from MEWA. We are in an electoral year, obviously, so you all know it by now.
And that's all we hear.
And that's all we hear. And maybe I should not be saying that, but I would also like to share what my colleagues have said. Obviously, the Congress will be the is always the climax of the institutional life, but it's much more than that. Obviously, there are many processes going on, and the Statutory Affairs team is also happy to support with the Congress coordination in general beyond statutory affairs. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting few months ahead.
Thank you very much, Carol. Jordi, and of course, Pablo, as ASGs, let us wrap this up together. If there is something else that is left to be said, it needs to be now. Jordi, from the perspective of the coordination of Tangier.
What else? No, George Clooney here. What else? So what else? We have an espresso now, so you have George Clooney. What else in the office of UCLG? Now, place matters, context matters, and this week, of course, many of the reflections, I connected with the work of the Culture Committee. The hypothesis, culture, without culture you cannot understand yourself, the place you live, the world. It's more true than ever. And we are extremely happy the Culture Committee is working with MEWA, with ASPAC in Jeonju, the next Culture Summit in Jeonju in 2027, perhaps a forum in Jakarta this year, with Mercociudades, with Africa, certainly the capital African of culture, with Mexico City in the organization of the award. We have the most complete tool to connect cultural rights and sustainability, the 21+, with a module which will be AI assisted, brand new, and the success of the culture goal. The culture goal is feasible. It will happen in any of the 4 scenarios we discussed on Tuesday. Mm-hmm. The culture goal will happen. The Congress, you explained it very well. The covenant is an ongoing process. Yes, if we need to improve, to create new moments to discuss, we'll do it. Because the thing is, the covenant is owned by anyone, by everyone. And the only way we can create trust is by this exchange, this co-creation. El roce hace el cariño. The brush, the touch, grace is creating the care and the love. Negotiating, understanding, empathizing, no other way. Locally, nationally, globally, no other way. So, and it takes time. It's not from one day to the other. We have 3 months to Tangier, and then the implementation, the delivery, and let me finish. A process, but the picture in Tangier is important. We need to be together, we need to feel the energy, we need to channel this energy to reassure us that yes, we can deliver better, that we can make the world a little bit better. And we are able to do that. So, yeah. See you in Tangier.
Well, you will see me sooner than that, Jordi.
See you on Monday.
No, but thank you very much. I keep that last part of ownership that we need to create, and it's very related to the additional homework that we have as a team now to make sure that we connect with the different parts of the networks. Pablo.
No, thank you. The first, making a stand of where we are, which is in this room, that if you go around the room, you can see where we go, which is to Tangier, that we hope it's clear, that it is coherent, and that we can explain the way that we understand that we come from what we are, which is a network of networks, that we represent all the sections, that we have the Global Task Force as the instrument in which we unify this voice, and that it's as relevant as it is for us as the movement, that we will be starting our 100 days of local multilateralism, which is a campaign and strategy that we are trying to bring about to make the selves clear that we identify as a local multilateralism, that we're going to Tangier, that in Tangier we will be developing what we understand the new generation of universal local service, public services through the local social covenant, which has to have in mind the caring territories, which is anti-racist, and that we are trying to engage with the youth meaningful participation. And the tools that we have are the city's countdown to 2030, and that we will be localizing these investment pathways, which is everything that we write is what we care, and we really be happy if it is coherent and that we are able to express it, but that also that our leadership identifies with the journey.
Thank you very much, Pablo. Well, colleagues, the experience of this retreat has been very different from any other retreat, because it's not only the retreat in the year of the Congress, but it's very close to the Congress. So the atmosphere of the retreat has been very different to other years. A reflection that I want to leave you with, I will share it with the team in a little while. We are coming together. I think this format is coming a little bit to an end. I think we need to rethink this format. We have done it for a while, and I think we need to innovate. So we will need to work on that, and I think next year is a good year to do that with renewed leadership, etc. So we will be busy doing that. It has been a pleasure, and it has been a privilege to facilitate the discussions. And I very much look forward to seeing you through these 100 days of local multilateralism. Thank you very much, family. Thank you.